Hi, welcome to the Inner Labyrinth. Today we're going to be doing an episode on running away from your anxiety or trying to, especially when you know that you have something that you want coming up. So, for example, with this episode, I have been thinking about making an episode since yesterday, right? It's on my mind. Every week I make an episode. But I was thinking today was the perfect day to make it, right? I could have yesterday, but some things happened. And then today, knowing that I was going to make it, knowing that as I was getting things done throughout my day, this was going to come up, that this was going to be what needed to be done. And I started to get so much anxiety in my heart, is where it showed up. And it was just kept going and going and going. And my style of anxiety is rumination. So I start to ruminate and play back certain things and question myself and if it even happened or if it did. But every single time, so for example, this is a bit of a tangent. With my rumination, I question, oh, did this really happen? And then I replay it 3, 4, 5 times, a million times in my head. And 10 out of 10 times, I've been correct. I double check my own memory, my own history. And then I always land on what I originally thought. But I feel like that's my style of anxiety. And I noticed that it hadn't come up in a while. It comes up, I would say, daily, but the volume has been at 1 when my normal used to be at 10, let's say about a year ago. And then today it started to get up there again, 4, 5, 6, 7, just up there. And I noticed that it was almost like a freeze response within myself where I connected it to this. Because, for example, with anxiety, I kind of feel like it can serve almost like an escape hatch, at least within myself, where if I'm feeling anxious, then I can't do an episode, right? I can't do an episode. I'm too anxious for that. And I feel like that was the invitation, where it's almost like, Debbie, you know that you don't feel anxious when you do the episode. Right now, as I'm doing this, I don't feel anxious. It feels like I'm just processing out loud or almost like talking to myself or whoever's watching this, or even me watching this in the future. But anxiety can really serve as a way, and I'm only going to talk about myself right now. I'm not talking about you, right? Take it or leave it. This whole podcast, the essence of it is, if it applies to you, if it helps you, and if it helps you, then great. And if it doesn't, well, then leave it, right? You don't listen to everybody and don't take their word. Your experience is unique. So my experience with anxiety is I've noticed that I sometimes use it, maybe even subconsciously, as a way to stop myself from doing the things that I want to do. It's a way for me to stay exactly where I am and change nothing. And I feel like, for example, with this podcast, it is a practice in existing and allowing for my voice to be captured as it evolves, right? Future Debbie is not going to be this Debbie. Even 5 minutes Debbie from now is not going to be this Debbie, right? And so this podcast is almost like a time capsule, a little snapshot of this moment in time of where I am, of who I am right now. And I feel like that's a vulnerable thing, right? Because so many hatches come up, so many traps, so many booby traps, you know? And I talked about this a bit in my resistance episode on overcoming resistance, but today it came up particularly with anxiety, where it came up. And even now, I guess I can feel the physical symptoms of it. But I guess the message that I want to say is that I feel like sometimes we think that because we're anxious, we shouldn't do the thing, right? The project that past us has embarked on, or the plans we want to do, or the people we want to meet, or the places we want to put ourselves. I feel like it's very easy for ourselves to sabotage ourselves, right? And to think, well, I'm too anxious. I can't record the episode. Oops, can't do it. But I feel like you still won't be able to outrun yourself, your anxiety, really. It'll stay with you. Because then, for example, let's say alternate reality. I let anxiety win and I just felt terrible, let my heart beat really fast, told myself, no, I'm too anxious, I shouldn't record today, and then I don't record. Then I'm going to have another pile of anxiety on top of that because I'm going to be letting myself down. It'll be anxiety with a flavor of shame, of not showing up for myself when I know that I allotted this time in my day to do this. And then I myself didn't show up for myself, right? So I'm going to have double shame. It's almost like double anxiety, different types of anxiety. And so instead, I decided to make a podcast episode about it, to just kind of name that, because there is an illusion that because you feel anxiety, then that's good enough. That's a good enough reason to not do the thing you want to do. But I feel like if you move through it, you do it anyway, you're going to learn something. You're going to process something. Something's going to happen. And if nothing else, you will not have let yourself down. And that's going to help you release this anxiety. And then once, for example, this episode's done, I'm sure that the anxiety will have evolved into something else or maybe gone away. I just feel like it's so us. It's so human nature to try to outrun ourselves, to try to outrun our own minds, our own anxiety. And that's why we run to things that make us feel good that we know maybe aren't good for us, right? And that's why we don't do the things that we know are going to be good for us. We just don't do that. It's almost like a paralyzing sensation. But I feel like instead of seeing it as I'm too anxious to do that, do it anyway, and then see if your anxiety has changed in any way and observe, right? All we're doing is gathering data. But I guess that's where I am today, where I kind of feel like as these episodes go on, I'm under this, and I know it's not true, right? But I think, what do I even have to say? What is there to talk about? Even though throughout the week I have ideas. I have ideas that I write down. And I'm like, great, that's going to be a good episode. Or let's go ahead and explore that. Let's flesh that out later. Let's see what's going to go on with that. Maybe that's something, or something is happening in my life and I'm learning through it and I want to share that, or I want to capture it, or see if there's a lesson somewhere, a silver lining, a trick, a tidbit, a habit, even just an observation. But then the day comes to record the episode, and then the resistance comes up. And I guess I just want to say that you can't really outrun your anxiety, but you always have the option to move through what you said you were going to do anyway. And then even through that movement, transformation happens, shifts happen, even just internally. Something changes when you go towards what you still wanted, despite your anxiety. So, for example, this episode, I'm already so proud of myself for even clicking record. And actually, I do a sound check. I do a sound check with the software, with the mic, to see if everything's okay. But I kind of just felt like I needed to talk out loud. So when I clicked record, it just kind of felt like, you know what, this is the episode. And I feel a lot better already because it feels good to do what I said I was going to do. I want to be that type of person that shows up for myself and doesn't let my past self down, right? And it is about showing up for yourself every single day, despite the circumstances, right? If you allocate a certain amount of time to doing a certain thing, then do it. Don't let anxiety run your life. Anxiety, you're not anxiety. Anxiety is a thing that is happening, but you don't have to let yourself latch on to that. And I'm not saying ignore it. I'm not saying, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not licensed in that. I always suggest go to therapy. See if there's medications that can help you. See if you can do something like that. Don't be afraid to figure yourself out, to go get the help that you need. But then to also face yourself and to do the work. It's almost like, at least right now, this Debbie doesn't believe that there is a one fix-all pill that will transform your life and make you be the person that you want to be. You still have to show up. You still have to do the inner work, the shadow work. You still have to face yourself, your baggage. You still have to see your fears, right? Because so much of the way that we live our lives is through our decisions, through our perspective, through the things that we do, decide not to do. We are in control of our lives in so many ways. But if you let anxiety win and you try to run away from anxiety and away from your goals, away from what you want to do, the person you want to be, then you're never going to be the person that you want to be because you're always running away. You're always trying to leave yourself behind. Your next version of you is in these instances where there's challenges, where there's this feeling of running away. It's in those moments that if you show up for yourself, you will be transformed. You will change. But if you always run, and then you're going to train yourself, right? Anxiety will show up and then you're going to run away. And that'll be your new programming, right? If anxiety comes up, then you run away, you don't do the thing. And then what? You're never going to do the things. I guess you can let anxiety run your life, or you can go ahead and move through it. That's kind of the options here. So that's going to be it for today's episode. And I will see you next time.